Alright, howdy and welcome. I am Mike and this is Board Games for One. We are going to be looking at the solo mode for Cytress, a cyberpunk board game that is on Kickstarter right now. This is a review as best as I can do using Tabletop Simulator. This is a prototype, and again, this is a focus on the solo mode. If you would like to see an overview and a playthrough, a demo of the base game, the regular multiplayer, please check out my other video for that linked in the description below. The designer is Sean Lee. This is his first big project to go to Kickstarter. It has funded, but the more support the better. So let's see what is the solo mode like. First, a quick overview here of Cytress, and hold on, it is a cyberpunk game. Let's cool it down in here. Alright, so what we have is a screen that I can't see because these are so dark. If we look at the instructions here, and again, this is a prototype, so this is subject to change, but zooming in, you'll see there are 12 pages of base game instructions, and then page 13 and 14 cover the solo mode. So not too extensive, there's always additional learning in the solo mode, and this is interesting because what we will see is it does not use a solo AI deck that you flip through in something like Lost Ruins of Arnak or Inside, where you're either flipping over a tile or on Mars, any of those, they have, you know, an AI deck. This doesn't use that. This uses something I'm seeing used more and more often right now with solo games, where the AI is actually something where you follow a set of priorities. So I'm going to walk you through that, but real quick, the quick overview of what the game is that you are these characters. There's all kinds of different characters you can select from, and if you want a story mode, there is that in the Kickstarter. You can pledge for that. It doesn't come with the base game though. Base game is a Euro game. Pick a character, and you are deep at the bottom of the city, and you are looking to earn your way up this stratosphere thing, the Stratus Tower up here. I forget what it's called, but anyways, the big tower. So if you've ever played like Final Fantasy VII, the city of Midgar, where you're living underneath the plate, you never see the sky, and then they try to get above higher and higher. Well, that's kind of what this is. You're living below the plate and trying to get up in status all the way up here in this cyberpunk world. So what you do is you start down here, and you have a character that can move around to influence different factions. You have privateers as a faction. They have their special abilities. The corpocrats, they focus on money. And then you've got the rovers over here. There, it's more like the narcotics district. And then you've got the hooligans. Yes, the hooligan district over there. They cause all kinds of trouble. So you can either make friends or enemies with these 4 different districts. So you can move your character to gain influence. In this case, in this game I'm playing, who is that? Can I read Marsala? There we go. Marsala. And then you've got ships that help you see how many turns are in a round. So the way a round works, in the beginning of the round, you gain resources based on life paths that you build. You build life paths by completing missions and getting cards to go over here. I'm sorry, they have to match the color, like this. And these help you determine resources that you get at the beginning of the round. Your life path can extend as far as you want in either direction for any of the 4 different factions. But that's so how the round works is you do that, and this is shown on the board. If I can remember how to zoom, there we go. So in the beginning you gain supplies, then you spread influence with your leader, you move your leader, and then that leaves 3 more turns for your player. Each turn you place a ship. You either place a ship to complete a mission with a faction like this, and then you'd grab a mission card of your choice and then replenish it. Or you can do some bounty hunting here, or you can go up here and climb your way up to the stratosphere here. And I know I'm not calling that correctly, forgive me there. But anyway, you can do that by taking your ship and either working with the influence of different stratolites, meeting their demands, or you can work with some hackers over here, some net prowlers, which lets you get to the top as well, but with This one, the Stratolites end up costing you a little more resource-wise, where these ones, the Net Prowlers, don't necessarily cost you quite as much, but you also don't get to use your ship a second time, which is a bonus if you use the others. I'm getting too detailed. Anyway, that's how you mark your turns. You place a ship, and then AI opponent takes a turn, you place another ship. Once you've placed all 3 ships, then you go to the next phase, which is where you do your Riku and retire. So you just pull all your ships back, and there may be some bonus things that you get to do or don't get to do. That's the basic rundown of how this game works. You win by getting the most points. You gain points by working with bounty hunters, by gaining supplies, as is shown by these markers here, by also unlocking skills that we have here. I'll show you how to do that. And also by placing these tubes so that you can, and you place the tubes when you work with the Net Prowlers or with the Stratolites here. Anyway, you build these towers to climb up here, and you get points based on the level you're on. The higher you go, the more points you get. So that's basically how you play the game. AI opponent always goes first. AI opponent has a slightly simpler setup than what you have. They have their AI board right here. You can see it's divided into 6 rounds. So the game ends at the end of the 6th round, or if another endgame trigger happens. You can look in the instructions for all the endgame triggers. I'm going to try to go through this as fast as possible, as it's fairly simple. This supply of tubes here, these are just markers to help you track actions. You're not ever actually going to use these in the game other than to track actions you've taken. The player board just gives you an idea of the character that the AI is playing as. You can pick anyone. You're not really going to use this otherwise. They get one of their leaders. They don't use any ships. They do use their crew, and they do have a bag of tokens that they draw from, and it starts out with 4 tokens, 1 token from each faction. So 1 of each of these tokens will go in there. All right, and you start with a token covering each of a faction's actions that's going to be taken. There we go. All right, so how on earth do you play as the AI opponent? Real quick, since they start first, we'd go phase 1, collect resources. The AI opponent doesn't collect resources, so skip that. Your player collects resources based on your life path. Next thing is placing leaders. AI always goes first. How do you know where to place the leader? You draw from the token bag. This game features token bag development, so we drew a yellow, so I'd place the leader in the yellow faction to put influence there, and then I'd look over here, and if the privateers had any yellow tokens here, then I would gain that from their leader going there. Forgive me if I got the wrong faction. I'm pretty sure I got that right. It's not the case, so we just move on. Then I would go to my character and do the same thing. Place my leader wherever I wanted, as long as it's not already taken by the AI opponent. Then the AI is going to go to our 3rd phase. So for phase 3, and I'm sorry, each time you pull out a token, you put it right back in. Phase 3, we pull a token out of the bag. Cool. It's the rovers. So I'm going to go over here to the rovers, and I'm going to remove the leftmost spot. I'm going to put both of these back in the bag. You can see how this is now token bag development, because now there's a greater chance of drawing a pink rover than the other tokens. Anyway, we revealed, so that also means with the pink, we're going to take the rightmost revealed action. In this case, we've only revealed 1. This tells me exactly what to do, and it tells you what these icons mean in the instructions. There isn't a little player guide at this point. I don't know if one is coming. I would assume so. I would hope so. If not, the creator, Sean Lee, hopefully he will create one of those. But again, this is prototype, so no worries. All right, so we are going to complete a mission for this faction, which is the, I believe it's the, yes it is, it's the rovers. So they're going to complete a mission, and that means you're going to take one of these cards. Well, how do you know which one? Easy. You look on your board over here, and sorry about the sliding around. I'm not very good with TTS saving camera angles yet. All right, we are in round 1 over here. So on our first turn, they're going to take the first card. If it was the second turn, they'd take the second card. If it was the third turn, they'd take the third card. So we're going to go over here. Here's the cards 1, 2, 3. First turn, there we go. We take card number 1, bring it over, and slide it in space 1 so we know that they took that turn. Boom. And I'd almost like to see these numbers reversed, like 1 at the bottom, then 2, then 3, so that we were covering the cards each time. However, I see why he didn't do that, because we need to see the tops. So never mind. Never mind. Ignore that. All right. So that has to go right there. No big deal. That was their first turn. And now what they're going to do, since they did the pink, just like a player would, they are going to place one of their crew on a pink section of their choice. Well, how do they know what they choose? Well, in the instructions, there is a priority listing. Let me zoom it up here. Can I zoom up? Come on. There we go. Pop it out. And you'll see on page 14, to complete a mission. Nope. Building to, oh yeah, here it is. The AI will always take the best location. These 4 right here where it says return to, place it next to the largest tower. If not, then next to opponent crew. I'm not going to read through all. See, what you need to know is there are 4 priority listings. So you try to meet the first priority. If not, then you meet the second priority, and so on and so on. And they will always be the same, but you will have to reference that rule sheet for now, unless a player aid is made. So we're going to say it was this. They place it, and then I'm going to take my turn as a player. I'm going to place my ship wherever I want and complete that action. We're going to pretend I did the whole thing. All right, so we're going to do that until the AI and myself have taken their 3 turns. So each time you're going to draw from the bag. That's a yellow, so I'd take the leftmost yellow, and this one would have me take a mission with the Corpocrats. All right, so I'd take a Corpocrat card. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'd take it and put it down here. So what are some of the other actions down here that can happen? Let's unveil them. And each time you draw one of these, you put it in the bag here, again, for token bag development. So the next one that would get revealed, and I believe it's the same in all 4, is going to be a bounty hunter. So if I pulled out a yellow like that, boom, I would take the rightmost available action. In this case, it would be the bounty hunter action. So what I would do is I would look to see, do I have 3 cards that show that I completed missions for or against the hooligans, or any of the 4 factions. So I would need to see, do I have at least 3 missions completed against the hooligans? I don't. But let's pretend I did. I would come over here to the underbelly, and the AI would take this, where they, let's see, yeah, let's say it was against the hooligans. If I had 3 missions against the hooligans, then they would take this bounty hunter card, put it over here, and use it for endgame scoring. All right? And you'd leave the cards in their turn spaces. If they cannot take that bounty hunter action, let's say they did not complete 3 missions against a faction, then you would take the next action to the left, which would be to complete a Corpocrat mission. All right. Now, what if it's the tubes here? That's the other possible. So let's say that we have all these in here, and we drew a yellow, yay. So we're going to take the rightmost possible action, which is going to be the tubes. So they're going to build a tube. Well, how do you know where and how many tubes they're going to build? Well, first of all, you're going to look at what round you're in. In round 1, they're only going to build 1 tube. In round 3 and 4, they're going to build 2 tubes. In round 5 and 6, they're going to build 3 tubes. So they take their tubes, just like the player, from the stockpile up here, where there are a total of 14. They should all be in the chest, but I didn't do it, so I couldn't figure it out. So there's 7 in there and 7 out here. No big deal. But if it's round 1, we're only placing 1 tube, but how do we know where to place it? Well, we would go to our instructions, and we have a priority order. So it says, let's see, I believe it's, build tubes, where we have the same thing, where we follow the priorities of 1, 2, 3. So just 3 priorities. And if none of them are valid, of course, then you can't build a tube. So what happens then? Well, if you cannot, come on, zoom out. If you can't, no, gracious be. All right, here we go. If you cannot, then you go to the next action over. So let's say I wanted to build a tube, but I actually didn't have a crew in a valid space according to the rules. Then I would move to the left and I would take the bounty hunter action. Well, what if I haven't completed 3 missions against one of the factions? Well, then you go to the next one to the left and you do a corporate crap mission. So there's always a turn for the AI to do, going from right to left, and each time you take a turn you just place your mission card there until they have 3 mission cards. Well, what if you take a turn like the bounty hunter or building a tube where you don't add a mission card? That's where these tubes come in. Just take a tube, put it over here. It's just a marker to let you know that they took a turn, so I know they've taken their 3 turns. It just helps me track so I don't lose track of turns. And then of course, once I've placed my final ship, then we go to the 4th phase where we recoup and retire, and that just means we take all of our ships back, our leaders back. So for the AI, you would just bring the leader back from their place of influence, boom, and make sure all the tokens, of course, are in the bag that I've just been tossing around. But they should always be in the bag. You should never have them out here. And that's it. So that would take us to end game scoring. End game scoring is no different, except the AI does not score for supplies. So you as the character are earning supplies and you get points at the end of the game based on your supplies. Well, AI opponent has no supplies, so they don't get points for that. But they get points for everything else. They get points for their bounties, and they get points for skills, which I missed. But so let me go back to skills. But they get points for their bounties, their skills, for their influence in this section, and their influence, of course, up here. All right, so we've got that, but what about skills? In a normal multiplayer game, each player gets 3 skill cards that they're able to activate at different points. Well, in a solo game, there's a pool of 6 cards that are available to you and to the AI. It's just whoever gets them first. So how do they get skills? Well, you've got these cards. Let's just grab a few more cards and just randomly lay them out. So we have something laid out nicely. And of course in the game, whenever you complete a mission, you immediately would replace it and flip it. I'm not going to do that, but you get the point. Okay, so skills are these top left icons. So the top right icons let you know the faction, the hooligans there, and faction, whatever you call that, icon right there. All right, but these skills are these top left things, right? So if you ever get 3 of a kind, then you get a skill. So if I got 3 of these dash mark thingies, which are, what is that skill? That's immobilize. So if I got 3 immobilize missions done, then the AI, as soon as they completed 3 of that type, they'd come over here and find the card with that, found it right here. Let's turn it. And we can see that's the immobilize. So that requires 1, 2, 3. 3 of those immobilize, they did it. So just move the skill over here and that's it. Now it's not available for you to use. And same thing for you, of course, if you get 3 of any skill. So let's say you completed 3 sabotage missions. As soon as you did that, you could unlock that skill. That's how that works. Takes us through endgame scoring, all that. I apologize if I missed anything. Final thoughts on this in review as far as a solo game. It's a solo Euro game, so it's not necessarily a narrative story driven solo experience, which if you're going for a Euro game, that is totally fine. We really enjoy those. I'm not 100% certain if the campaign story is solo friendly. I'll have to check the Kickstarter page. Let me know in the comments if you find out about that. As far as anything that I'd like to see improved upon printing, it would just be some player aids for the priority decision making of placing tubes and the priority of placing your ships in this center influence area. It's simple rules. There's only 4 priority to follow. for placing influence, and 3 for the tubes, but I would really like that player aid at some point. But other than that, it is very easy to read and follow the AI. I don't feel it's overly complicated in any way, and I kind of appreciate stepping outside of using a solo deck. I'm fine with solo decks, but I think this was creatively done. So my plays of it so far, I enjoy it, not too complicated, about same difficulty level as something like Lost Ruins of Arnak. This is by no means gameplay similar, but difficulty, approachability, I would say the same, or maybe even more approachable than that. That is it. If this was helpful for you in making your decision with the Kickstarter, please go ahead and give me a like. Tell your friends about it. The Kickstarter's over in 9 days as of posting this video, so that will be close to the end of May. What is today? The 14th, so probably the 22nd of May. I could be wrong on that, of 2022. So go over there, check it out. I'll put a link in the description, and also I will, the next video that's coming up is going to be a discussion with the designer Sean Lee about the base game multiplayer version of Cytress. That is it. Love you all. See you next time.